All right, welcome everybody. I'm David Van. This is Sooner Politics with a special bulletin tonight. Hope you're all doing fine. Glad to see you here. And we've got a lot of things happening here in the next, have happened today and are going to be happening in the hours and days ahead. So I wanted to get with you tonight, talk to you about it. First is a bulletin. This comes from the Public Health Committee chair in the state House of Representatives, and let's just go ahead and read this. This is from Representative Sean Roberts, and he's giving us an update on public health from his perspective of oversight of our state response. He said, when we started this journey a month ago, I issued a statement regarding COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus. We as the legislature and I as the chairman of public health in the State House of Representatives urge people to take precautions to protect themselves, their loved ones, and the public as a whole. God has heard our prayers, and I want to congratulate Governor Stitt, President Trump, for flattening the curve, as they say, and saving countless lives while not infringing on Americans' constitutional rights. Well, in this time of national disaster, President Trump stood vigilant for the constitutional rights of the American people. Governor Stitt stood beside him, and as public health chairman, I'm very thankful and humbled that the Oklahomans have rallied together and decided to heed the warnings to flatten the curve of infections. Now, questioning our government, again, this is from the State Representative Sean Roberts, chairman of the Public Health Committee of the Oklahoma House. He said, now, questioning the government has always been an essential part of our republic, and I'm thankful that I am not alone in this sentiment. I'm gravely concerned that some municipalities have usurped the suggestions from the president and the governor and the CDC and instituted practices that have far exceeded their recommendations. This has resulted in tyrannical practices by some municipalities. He's talking about Oklahoman municipalities here. You can fill in the blank if you've been following the news on this. I would warn those municipalities against infringing on people's constitutional rights. Across the country, we have witnessed churches being forced to close, businesses being bankrupted, and people being arrested for playing with their children in the park, as well as other infringements of our rights. As a nation, we have faced many times of turmoil in our history. Government should always hold our Constitution and Bill of Rights in the highest regard. This is what has always and will continue to separate us from authoritarian regimes. Those before us paid such a heavy price to afford us these rights, and we will not relinquish them. I believe it is time for our country to put our economy back on track and let Oklahomans go back to work. I further believe we can accomplish this while still using common sense social distancing practices. I hope the legislature can lead by example and get back to work at the Capitol for our constituents in May. When this is over, I hope we can look back and be proud of our actions in this time of trial. That's from State Representative Sean Roberts, Oklahoma's 36th district, and also our Public Health Committee chair. Now, it is on that backdrop, that call by our chairman of public health, that I bring to you the next story. And this is about something that's going to happen in Oklahoma City tomorrow, Wednesday, April 15th. Let's move on to that story. Now, what we've got going on, this flyer, you may have seen it. It's called Let's Get Oklahoma Open for Business. This is okay, back to work. Now, this is being put together by a loose-knit bunch of people. There's not even a name on this flyer. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you it may be a little bit disorganized, but it probably means it's somewhat authentic. If it had been put together by, let's say, a union organization or by some political outfit, a think tank, or an activist group that's well entrenched, you'd probably see something different. But, you know, it's a cute flyer, and it's meant to appeal to the average Oklahoman. Here's what's going to happen. Citizens of Oklahoma are being placed under hardship created from closing businesses during the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, the number of people being hospitalized and dying are far fewer than anticipated. What this whole thing is pushing towards, and it's not easy to read the mice type on here. I probably should have printed it bigger. But they're planning to get together in Oklahoma City tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday, April 15th, at Penn Square Mall, and it's going to be a caravan. This is going to be what they call social distancing, yet a protest. They're going to start at the Penn Square Mall. That's up around 50th and Clawson. And they're going to drive in caravan to the Capitol. They're asking people, decorate up your cars with signs. We're going to have some different things going on here. It's just a similar protest that happened in Tucson. Looks like this. There's another one just the other day up in Michigan. But what you've got is people who are, they're upset. They want to go back to work. And, sunroofs are awesome. Pickups with boxes are awesome. But what we're trying to do here, according to these people, is let society know we want to go back to work. Now, is it time to go back to work? Sean Roberts thinks the legislature ought to get back in May. President Trump says, the things we got in place, what he's recommending is through the end of April. Is it time to go back to work on Thursday? I don't know. But what this group is trying to say is we've got to get back to work soon. I think what they want to convey is to the governor, to public safety officials, that the people want to go back to work. So I don't know which route they're going to be traveling in. If you're in Oklahoma City or can make it to Oklahoma City, you might, if we get a parade route, you might want to cheer them on and motivate them. Or they're going to be going over to the Capitol. Some people may be wanting to wait and cheer them on at the Capitol. Some may want to join the caravan. Could be that our news media is going to be meeting them somewhere along the way. Hopefully we'll get to see some footage of just what kind of turnout there is. Are we a bunch of slackers that just want to stay home and get our government check in the mail and live a subsistence like that? That's not who we are, at least not for several of us. There are some protests that really should be going on and probably should have been going on before now. I was planning to organize one such protest if our state superintendent of education hadn't opened up distance learning. She literally shut down our virtual public schools without any reason to, and then said, wait 3 weeks. Now, they were going to take 1 week off for spring break anyway, but she made them wait until April 6th to return back at our virtual charter schools. That's senseless. Now I'm saying there are a number of people for whom the president and Congress, our entire Oklahoma delegation, voted for some kind of relief while we're telling them for safety's sake, for lives' sake, stay home. We're going to help you out. They're providing stimulus checks of some sort. I know you call it what you want. The $1,200 per taxpayer, $1,200 coming in the mail, and then an extra $500 per kid. We're still waiting on that. That was what, 3 weeks ago, and we're still waiting on it. Hope to hear something soon. More importantly, unemployment. Governor Stitt, are you listening? I hope you are, because the state employment service stinks royally. I was just reading something on Channel 5 news about people that are still waiting. You know what makes it even worse? And by the way, we've got one of the worst websites for doing this kind of thing. It's horrible. Who answers to it? This guy does. Governor Stitt needs to get whatever help he needs to get there to get people their checks. We waived the 1 week waiting period before you get your first check, but there's people been waiting 3 weeks. They've told Channel 5, KOCO, there's not even a phone number they can call where somebody can answer. Isn't there somebody? I mean, think of all the LAs at the Capitol who are twiddling their thumbs or maybe just sent home. Send them over there, Governor. Do something. Answer the phones. Get people some help. That's where the protest needs to be. I mean, it might be a feel-good thing for people tomorrow, but my God, you know, what we need is the protest down at the employment office and maybe in front of the governor's mansion to put a little fire under him to clean this thing up. The buck stops with you, Governor. Get the employment service fixed. And number two, and I agree with Sean Roberts on this, Representative Roberts says these municipalities that are cracking down unnecessarily on these municipalities cracking down on their own people or all Oklahomans, anybody traveling through, $750 fines. My goodness. You know what they're doing? They'll shut down the park where kids might want to go with their family, go fly a kite. And all of a sudden, they're getting crackdowns to fly a kite. These are people who live in the same house. But now you want to say, no, you got to socially distance. And you can't do it at the park. You know, I was talking to one mayor earlier today, Brian Hobbs, mayor of Newkirk. He said, you know what? He had a city council meeting. He was adamant about it. For every place the city closes down, that just compresses the people to go someplace else where they're allowed to. You want to spread the people out. Now, sure, you might shut down the restrooms. Sure, you might shut down the monkey bars. But seriously, can people not fly a kite in the park? We've got some problems. And yes, there are some needs for a protest. And I said to the mayor of Tulsa, G.T. Bynum, when he first shut down the restaurants, I served notice that the right to peaceably assemble and petition our government for redress of grievance is a right we are reserving unto ourselves, the citizens, whether the state or the municipalities like it or not. And we're going to meet. And if the State Department of Public Safety should decide, after leaving the parking lot open for the last month, that all of a sudden tomorrow there's barricades at every entry, there will be civil unrest. There will be people hopping curbs. That is the people's house. If the government, who swore an oath to protect the Constitution, all of a sudden decides that their role isn't to protect the Constitution, but to protect the government from their own people, then we need a new government. Well, now you got me worked up. But anyway, that's what I have to say tonight. I'm David Van with Sooner Politics. We wanted to give you an update on some things that are happening. And listen, I'm giving high marks to Governor Stitt on a number of things. Now, do we need to fix our Department of employment? Absolutely. That should have been done years ago. That website's been horrible. Horrible. And it's time we fix it. And it's time we get some people answering the phones. It's time we start working on solutions here. Governor, President Trump just said today he's going to get with you and he's going to get a plan for reopening Oklahoma. I expect to hear that pretty soon from you. Pretty soon. We're getting a little bit upset now. We're getting a little bit ticked off. Some of you mayors, you know who you are. Veneta, Guthrie, Bristow, Glenpool, Altus. The list is getting bigger and bigger. And by God, the people are going to remember it. I'm David Van with Sooner Politics. Yeah, I'm a little bit worked up. I'm ready to get out of my self-imposed quarantine. Let's meet again. Have a good night.